Final segment of ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. We want to say thank you for rocking with us throughout the entire show. We really appreciate you. We also appreciate you for pushing us towards 4,000 subscribers. We are right now, we're at a little bit over 3,800. We really appreciate you all. So we need you to push that subscribe button if you haven't already. We really appreciate you in advance for that. But T, this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, and the culture. And sometimes, what the hell are we going to talk about? Because that's just how we get down on this show. Today is no different because Chris Lindstrom, Chris Lindstrom is a guy that I'm not acting like I scouted the dude, but he was a guy that when the Falcons drafted him and they got him out on that field, he was a guy that I knew from day one that, hey, this cat is going to be very, very special. And I think that for him to be spreading that love off the field as well, I am not surprised by it because Chris Lindstrom, he surprised 4 local teachers, with shopping sprees for their students and the classroom. We know how it is with teachers having to come out of pocket. My wife used to be one as well, and she totally understands what it is to be able to pay out of pocket to make sure you have what you need in order to be able to do what you need to do, and that's get these babies to the next grade. And I think that for Chris Lindstrom to be doing something like this, it is absolutely amazing, and kudos to you, Mr. Lindstrom, spreading love on the field and off the field as well.
Indeed. Chris Lindstrom is the truth. He is a special guy, so I'm just co-signing on everything you said, and he's showing us what a quality individual he is. And listen, the Falcons have always been about the community, and so this is something that runs through the course of that entire organization. But also, you said it well. Educators, especially in the economy that we are dealing with right now, they don't have their extra pennies to be able to do the things that they used to in their classrooms and maybe kind of fill in the gaps with some of their students who maybe don't have as much. And that's
Right.
where someone like Chris Lindstrom comes in and just kind of saves the day. So I was so excited when I saw this because, like I said, we've been giving flowers to the O-line throughout the week on what they've been doing, what they were able to do on the field. And then it was just kind of cool to see how he was able to do that off the field. And of course, it's always cool as well to see, because to me, the O lineman, that's whenever someone says, what's your favorite position group to kind of focus on? The O line. I've always liked them because I feel like they're cerebral, like they think a little bit differently. They're a little quirky, a little odd in the way they think. And Chris Lindstrom, like you said, you just knew there was a maturity there, right? And
Right.
just like not just a football IQ, but just an IQ for the world overall. And this was when this guy got drafted,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
now here we are a few years later. And it's funny because I was thinking to myself, and of course, no disrespect to Jake Matthews, but when you talk about the quality of play, Chris Lindstrom's your anchor on that O line. He's your anchor on that O line. So you like the guy who is one of the anchors and one of the leaders of the organization on the field to be able to show you, hey, I want to also be not just the leader, but the face of this organization off the field. So kudos to you, Chris, for doing what you do.
Yeah, I think the consistency is a good word to use for Chris because like my interactions with him have always been great. Like I
Yes.
said, even after the observation that I made, I brought it up to him. We had a conversation about it. It was like really cool to kind of see that light come on. Like, oh
Hmm.
yeah, da, 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 da. He just
Yeah.
runs off into a conversation. I was like, man, this is what you asked for when you talk about a young offensive lineman coming into the league,
Hmm.
and obviously with the draft history that the Falcons have had.
Yeah.
If you feel like we talk about Chris Lynch too much or we showing them a little bit too much love, just
Hmm.
look at the offensive lineman the Falcons have drafted in the past 15 years. So
Yes.
yeah, you can go down that rabbit hole. I've been there, done that, done my research. So yeah, I'm going to go give that man his love. But yeah, kudos to you, Chris. Really appreciate you for helping out the local educators in the state of Georgia. Really appreciate that. Now, Prime has been a guy that is always going to say exactly what's on his mind, and I absolutely love him for that because not only is my favorite player of all time, he is the head coach of Jackson State University, and this is a topic that has been pretty controversial amongst HBCU alum and HBCU administration.
Hmm.
The conversation about whether or not it's good to play in these money games.
Yeah.
For those you don't know, I know what I'm talking about. A lot of times when these big Power Five schools or FBS schools are looking for teams to play, they'll throw a few $100,000 at
Try 1.5 mil.
yeah, or yeah, you'll throw a few, throw a nice little change up to the HBCUs. But I think that, and those conversations whether or not they should play in those games have come up. But I
Yeah.
don't think this is necessarily the case in this statement by Prime. And I think where a lot of people got off, and I'm on Prime side. Let me go ahead and say that is
Mhm.
that when he said the money that they receive for that game should go solely to the athletic department. And we know how HBCU athletic departments struggle, so they try to spread the love, just like
Yeah.
Chris Lindstrom. But
Mhm.
Prime said, we the one not going out there and get our butts kicked. We should get every last dollar to you. Like, what's your thoughts?
Oh, I agree. I agree with it as well.
I'm with
Like,
you. I'm
yeah,
with you.
I just don't understand why that is even a part of the conversation. If the topic and the debate is whether or not HBCUs or really those schools that are in the FCS period should be a part of these cupcake games, okay, fine. That's a conversation that maybe you can debate or you can have, but let's just face it. We saw what a Georgia Southern and what an Appalachian State did this past weekend. So there are moments in time where it doesn't just pay off with a check, but also from a recruiting perspective,
Mm-hmm.
talk about being able to, and even FAMU for hanging as hard as they did with the likes of North Carolina earlier in the season, although they didn't come up with a W, but they did it without 20 players dressed, right?
Yeah.
So there are still opportunities there to show that the HBCU athlete is a quality athlete as well. However, like Coach Sanders said, the same concept, if you will, of the NIL, right? Which is why would we give all the money to the schools when the money's made off the backs of these players? So go ahead and give them an opportunity to make the money off their own names. To me, this is kind of a similar conversation and in that similar vein. These players, these coaches, their staff members, they're the ones who are traveling from point A to point B because most of the time you go to the Cupcake Stadium, by the way, to play
Right.
the Cupcake game.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're doing that and you are usurping all of the extra time that you would have to yourself, then why wouldn't you be able to benefit from it more so than any other part of the university if they benefit at all? Now,
Yeah.
maybe they can get a little bit of leftover money. That's fine. But yeah, I do
Yeah.
agree with him. The vast majority of that should go because let's face it, in our PWIs, our predominantly white institutions, that money that those universities make that really does underwrite a lot of what goes on the university's campuses, but that's also because it can, because if they go
Right.
play a cupcake game their boosters are going to cover them, but because athletic boosters for HBCUs aren't quite there yet, you really do need most of that money to stay within the athletic department and stay within the organization so that they can be the best that they can be. Now, as far as best as they could be with the Braves, well, let's see what they do this afternoon. Charlie Morton is going to be on the bump. He's going to face off against Carlos Rodon. Ronald Acuna Jr., we see, is going to be back in right field. So good to see nephew Ronnie back in the outfield. Let's see what he'll
Mm-hmm.
do there. Instead, Marcel Ozuna is going to be DHing this afternoon. And it's good
Yay.
to see Vaughn Grissom back at second base. Let's see what he can do. As we always tell you, that bottom of the order, rather, for the Braves is something to behold. So, we'll download on it tomorrow and we'll download on any and everything else that's going on in the Atlanta sports network or metro or landscape or whatever you want to call it. And as always, stop by ATL Day Ones first for all of your sports talk in Atlanta. But after you stop here, you make sure that you guys go to Hitting Hard with John Chuckery, and you can check him out. You can check us out on Amazon Fire and Roku as well. So the more the merrier. You guys have a great afternoon, and we will see you tomorrow.
Y'all come back now, you hear?